Starting with Erickson's first stage, I see my nephew Matt. He is the type of child who is always happy. During our first visits to my brother's house, he would almost always be in a happy mood, but was reluctant when it came to staying with either of us for an extended amount of time. This was because he hadn't come to trust us yet. His parents, on the other hand, had been with him from the start, caring for him, nurturing him, and constantly building a solid foundation of trust. This didn't mean, though, that his parents would be the only people he could trust. This was only the beginning, and in a few years more relationships would form because of this trust. Along with his growth and trust came his developing physical abilities. As months went by, I could tell very easily the differences in his interactions with people and his growth in physical and mentally. Now able to make sounds and freely move his body around. The growth in physical capabilities brought changes in mental capabilities. As a small child, Matt learns basic rules. Things like don't play in the street or don't hit your sister are some of the more common ones. Here he learns obedience and the consequences of breaking said rules, like timeouts. Instead of questioning these rules, he sees them as a rule he must not break and completely concrete. As a baby, my nephew learns the basics, which sets the stage for even more learning. Moving on to the third stage of Erickson's psychological stages, I picture my niece Morgan. In this phase, Morgan learns the importance of exploration and independence. Unlike her brother Matt, Morgan starts to become independent in her adventures. Instead of staying by her parents' side constantly, she's able to explore more freely and interact with different people and environments. I'll use myself in some examples. She enjoys bringing me places, like maybe her bedroom to show me her toys and is able to explain in great detail what each toy is and does. Another example is the fact that every time our families get together, Morgan insists that we play in the car. This is her chance to assert authority with my sister and I. The game consists of her sitting in the driver's seat, myself in the passenger seat, and my nephew and my sister in the back. She then goes to pretend the car is in motion, steering the steering wheel and occasionally stopping at various locations. It could be anywhere from the convenience store to the bank, school, or a friend's house. If she were allowed to, Morgan would go on like this for days on end. Whenever she puts herself in this position, that sense of control and sense of position is fulfilled, which in the end, according to Erickson, will lead to success. As far as her thought capacity, she is still learning. Now she is able to recognize letters in the alphabet and draw most of them, as well as count things. When it comes to eating dinner, like many children, she eats sparingly. Whatever her parents say, she refuses to eat all of the meal and instead eats what she believes is sufficient, which follows Kohlberg's second stage of deciding what's best for her. This stage is really the main starting area for mental development because she just began school, and her ability to communicate grows every day. For the next stage, I use a non-relative, who is a prime example of this stage, and his name is Zeke. Zeke just entered second grade this year, and he's my best friend's brother. I've been friends with Connor since third grade, so I've been somewhat of a part of Zeke's life, even though we aren't related. I've seen him grow over the years from a baby to a child to a kid. Since he was born, he's always been a smart kid, and that's definitely evident in the way he talks and is able to figure out some basic math problems. From what I can tell, Zeke enjoys school and is learning a lot from it. I'm able to hold good conversations with Zeke, like simple things like what type of food he likes or his favorite animal. Going back to Piaget's stages, Zeke isn't easily fooled as he once may have been. Along with the changes in his thinking more abstractly comes the need to live up to others' expectations by not getting into trouble and obeying the rules laid down in front of him. Moving on to the next stage is my cousin Emily, who has always been a very independent and outgoing person. We've known each other since birth, so I'd say we've got to know each other quite well. Even as a child, Emily has been extremely confident in herself. To me, this translates to having a pretty firm grasp on her sense of her identity. If one was to have a negative outlook on their identity, it would probably show in a different way. But by possessing either a good idea or a firm grasp of one's own identity, it would show. In this situation, it's shown through her confidence in herself. With this confidence, she will continue to thrive and grow. As well as having a firm grasp on her identity, Emily has entered the fourth stage of Piaget, enabling her to think more abstractly. She also realizes that she must follow the rules and respect authority. She must do her homework if she wants to be successful in school, and she must stay within the speed limit if she doesn't want to get pulled over by the police. These rules end up becoming part of her everyday life, which she must follow or face the consequences and get in trouble. The one who fits best into the sixth stage of Erickson's chart is my aunt, Maureen. She is currently married and living happily at the age of 30. She came to mind because of her current status in life. She has successfully built a strong relationship with someone she loves, and he loves her just as much. This fulfills Erickson's stage very nicely, because instead of being isolated, she is intimate with the person she loves. Along with Emily, she is in the fourth stage of Piaget, but instead a step higher in the realm of Kohlberg. Since she is in a serious relationship, she creates and agrees upon rules set by both people in the relationship. Maureen and her husband have stepped onto stage 6 of Kohlberg, where they mutually agree upon certain standards set in their household. Instead of thinking for themselves, they have to think about their partner as well in order to maintain a good relationship. Lastly is my father, Roy, currently in his mid-50s with 2 children, who fits perfectly into the last stage I'm going to talk about, which is Erikson's 7th and Kohlberg's 6th stage. Unlike Erikson's last stage, stage 7 pertains to middle adulthood and what happens after that solid relationship is formed. This time in life is a choice between generativity and stagnation. My father chose the first of the two by having 2 children. This leaves him with a sense of accomplishment. Along with being a parent, he is a hard worker, working 8 to 5, 5 days a week, leaving the weekends to spend time with us. Over the past 5 years or so, I know he's been struggling to find out what he really believes in. This is what some people call soul searching, and definitely think he's found it. I'm not sure what it is he's found, but before he looked troubled, and now after a few years of this search, he looks relieved and feels as though he's accomplished something. He's able to make distinctions between others' beliefs and his beliefs, which fits snugly into Kohlberg's 6th stage. He took the time to figure out his beliefs and plans to stick with them.